The moment I realized I was sold to the Mafia boss, fear consumed me. But on our wedding night, unexpected twists changed our fate, turning a horrifying deal into a night that rewrote our destiny. Thank you for sticking around with me, and welcome back, my wonderful story family. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the story. The limousine's windows were so dark Sophia couldn't see the strip flashing outside, only her own reflection. Wide eyes, brown skin still slick with rehearsal sweat, curls pinned in a messy bun she hadn't been allowed to fix. Her father sat across from her, hands shaking in his lap, looking everywhere except at her. The air between them felt like a shrinking room. "Papa," she said softly, "why are there men with guns outside the studio? What's going on?" He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing like he was trying to force down guilt. "You're getting married." Sophia almost laughed. It came out sounding cracked. "What? To whom?" "Dominic Cassano." The name thudded in her chest like a fist. She straightened, the vinyl seat sticking to the back of her thighs where her leotard had ridden up. "Papa, no. Please. I have auditions next month. Juilliard. You have a husband on Saturday." He snapped it, but his voice was brittle. "It's done, Sophia. It's done." "No," she whispered. "No, it's not. You can't." Her pulse roared in her ears. "Papa, I'm your daughter. And I'm trying to keep us alive." He exploded, then pressed his shaking hands to his face. "Please don't make this harder." The limousine glided to a stop in front of the Imperium Hotel. 50 floors of mirrored gold and power. Men in black suits formed a corridor to the entrance. Their silence was more frightening than shouting ever could be. A guard opened the door. "Miss Valenti." Not Sophia. Not even ma'am. Just cargo. Her father finally looked at her. For the first time in her life, she saw something hollow in his eyes. A man who had already surrendered his spine. "Just do as you're told," he murmured. "Please." She stepped out. The evening heat wrapped around her, thick as syrup, but a shiver still shook her shoulders. The lobby was cold, cavernous, and expensive. Crystal chandeliers glinted overhead like they were studying her, deciding whether she belonged. She didn't. She knew it. Everyone here knew it. 2 elevators later, she stood in the penthouse hallway, feet aching in her dance shoes. A woman in a sleek black skirt suit, not a stylist, not a wedding planner, more like a handler, gestured her inside a fitting room filled with white gowns. "Mr. Cassano wants lace," the woman said. "He'll be here in a moment." Sophia stiffened. "He's coming here. Now." The woman offered no reassurance, only a clinical smile. "He wants to inspect the dress." Inspect. Like she was a dress form. A mannequin. A thing. Then the door opened. Dominic Cassano walked in as the world adjusted itself around him. Tall, broad-shouldered, pale skin stark against a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her father's club. His dark hair was slicked back, jaw set in a line carved from cold. His eyes, black, unreadable, dragged over her like a scan for weakness. Sophia's spine snapped straight. She refused to cower. If he was going to ruin her life, he could at least see her standing. He didn't greet her, didn't offer his hand, didn't ask her name. Instead, he said, "The dress needs more lace. Cover her shoulders." Her breath hitched. Offense, humiliation, fury. "My shoulders are not indecent," she said sharply. Dominic didn't blink. "They attract attention." "It's my wedding," she shot back. "It's my problem if you're shot on the altar." The room froze. Sophia stared at him. "Is that supposed to be a joke?" "It wasn't," he said. "You'll be protected. You'll be married. And you'll do what's necessary." "What's necessary?" she repeated, voice trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief. "What am I to you? A pawn? A prop? A transaction between criminals?" He stepped closer, unbothered. "Your leverage." Her stomach turned. "And what are you?" she whispered. "God." "No, he said softly. Just the man who now owns your father's debt. Her mouth dried. She hated him. Hated the arrogance, the coldness, and the way he spoke like her life was an inconvenience on his calendar. But she also hated the deepest truth. She didn't know what was worse, being sold to Dominic Cassano, or what her father had been willing to sell her instead. As Dominic left the room, his gaze brushed her one last time. Sharp, calculating, unreadable. And halfway down the hall he paused, glanced back and said, "We're flats at the rehearsal. I don't want you tripping." She didn't know whether to scream at him, or laugh at the ridiculousness of his concern. But she did know one thing. This marriage would break one of them. And it wouldn't be her. If you've ever dealt with someone who treats people like things, like they can be bought or traded, drop a comment saying, "I stand for dignity." The only people who won't comment are those who think people are disposable. The rehearsal was held in one of the Imperium's private ballrooms, a cavern of marble floors, white drapery, and security so tight it felt like walking into a vault. Sophia arrived in a pair of simple white flats, mostly because the stylist handed them to her and said, "Mr. Cassano requested these." Of course he did. She stepped inside. Heat fluttered in her chest. Fear, frustration, and the sensation of being watched even when no one was looking straight at her. Dominic stood near the altar arch, speaking with a priest who looked like he'd aged 10 years since arriving. Luca, the brick-shaped man who'd shoved her father into the office earlier, stood nearby with his hands clasped in front of him, a wall of muscle pretending to be a wedding guest. Sophia swallowed. Dominic turned almost as if he sensed her. Those black eyes of his skimmed her flats, then traveled slowly up her body. Measured, impersonal, and yet, something else flickered behind his gaze. Something she couldn't name. "Walk the aisle," he said, voice low and even. From the top. No greeting. No "are you okay?" Just instructions. Commands. Sophia straightened her back and pressed her chin up, every movement precise and controlled. She glided down the aisle, the loose rehearsal gown flowing around her ankles. She'd danced in front of packed theaters before. She refused to tremble now. She reached him. Dominic didn't blink. Again. She walked again. Once more. Then again. He watched every step with an intensity that bordered on clinical inspection. On the fourth pass she snapped. "I know how to walk," she muttered, stopping halfway down the aisle. "I do have legs." Dominic's jaw twitched, annoyance, amusement, or some combination she'd never understand. "Your legs aren't the issue," he replied. "Your eyes are." She frowned. "My eyes. They're too expressive," he said. "Everyone in this room will know you're terrified." Her stomach tightened. "Maybe because I am." "Then hide it." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "These men, my men, other families, rivals, will read your face like scripture. If they sense you're afraid, they'll look for the reason. And the reason is always leverage." She stared at him. "You're telling me to perform." "You're a dancer," he said. "Perform." The coldness should have made her recoil. Instead, it lit something sharp inside her. A challenge. A spark. Because under that layer of command was something she didn't expect. Concern. Not softness. Never softness. But protection disguised as control. Her pulse stuttered. Sophia tried again. Walk, breathe, blank face. She imagined herself in a performance. Lights blurring overhead, music swelling through her veins, her mind retreating to a place where only the steps mattered. And when she reached him this time, Dominic tilted his head slightly. Better. It sounded like praise. Not warm. Not effusive. But real. She hated how her stomach reacted to it, like a cord had been plucked too hard. "Great," she murmured dryly. "I'll add it to my resume, expert mobwife mannequin." A low sound escaped him. A half scoff, half chuckle, so subtle she wouldn't have caught it if she weren't standing inches away. It startled her. She blinked up at him. Did you just?" "No," he cut her off quickly. "It sounded like." "It wasn't." She narrowed her eyes. "You laughed." "It wasn't a laugh," he insisted. "It was almost a laugh. Luca snorted loudly from behind them. The priest jumped. Dominic shot Luca a look sharp enough to silence an earthquake. The moment broke when a woman in a headset rushed over. "Mr. Cassano, the floral team needs approval for the arch design." He nodded and turned to Sophia. "Stay here. Don't move." She bristled. "I'm not a pet." "No," he said simply, walking away. "But you are a target." That sentence, the truth in it, ricocheted through her chest. She stood alone in the middle of the ballroom, fingers curling slightly at her sides, trying to gather her breath, her wits, anything she could hold on to. That was when she heard it. Two men whispering near the back of the room, voices low but not low enough. "The Petrovs aren't taking this well. They're furious. Lost 5 million and the girl. They'll make a move before the wedding night. Watch." Cold washed through her bloodstream. Her father had said nothing about enemies or danger, only fear. And now, with each passing minute, she was starting to understand. She wasn't the prize. She was the fuse. One spark and a war would start. And she'd be standing in the center of it. Sophia swallowed and turned. Right into Dominic, who'd returned silently. Too silently. His eyes locked onto hers. "What did you hear?" She hesitated. His gaze sharpened. "Sophia." She stiffened at the name. He'd never said it before. Hearing it from him, low, rough, serious, sent a flicker of heat down her spine she didn't want to admit. "I heard enough," she said. "Tell me." "Your enemies are angry. They think they've lost something they were owed." He didn't look surprised. They did. Her breath hitched. What was my father actually planning? Dominic's jaw clenched. "Not here." "So there is something." "There's everything," he said. "And you're not hearing it on a marble floor in front of an audience." She stared at him, stunned by the bluntness. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him and smell the faint cologne. Cedar, smoke, danger. When he spoke again, his voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm not your enemy, Sophia. But someone out there is." She felt her heartbeat stutter. Her pulse tripped. And somewhere beneath the fear stirred something she wasn't prepared for. Trust. Or the beginning of it. Dominic straightened. "The rehearsal is over. Luca, escort her upstairs." "Like a prisoner?" She shot back. "Like a woman men are willing to kill for," he answered. And the worst part? She believed him. If you've ever seen people twist the truth just to control someone else, comment, "Not me." The only ones who won't say it are the ones who secretly agree with the manipulators. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt like a slow execution. Luca stood beside Sophia, massive arms crossed, expression unreadable. Her flats made soft taps against the marble floor, each step echoing like a countdown. She crossed her arms over her chest, not because she was cold, but because she needed to feel like she was holding something together. The doors slid open. The penthouse stretched before her. Floor-to-ceiling windows spilling neon light across dark wood floors, a cityscape so bright it made her blink. She'd seen Vegas from rooftops before, but never from this high, never with her life hanging in the balance. Luca motioned her inside. "Stay put. The boss will be up soon." "Does anyone ever tell him no?" she asked. Luca huffed. "Sure. Once." Her eyebrows rose. "What happened?" "We buried him." Sophia stared. He cracked a grin. "Kidding." Her shoulders dropped an inch. "We cremated him." "Luca." He shrugged. "What?" "You asked." Before she could respond, Dominic strode into the penthouse from the private elevator. No footsteps, only presence. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, and forearms roped with muscle and ink she hadn't seen before. The sight startled her more than the jokes about murder. This man was a contradiction she couldn't get a grip on. Cold but protective. Detached but observant. And somehow, impossibly, always one step ahead. He dismissed Luca with a nod. "Give us the room." When the door shut, Sophia felt the air shift. Thicker, heavier, charged. Dominic walked past her to the minibar and poured a splash of amber into a glass. "Whiskey." I don't drink, she said. You might want to start. Dominic. He stopped pouring, turned, looked at her fully. The seriousness in his eyes chilled her more than anything else tonight. You asked what your father was planning, he said. Let me clarify it before the rumors get to you first. She swallowed. Tell me. He sold you. She clenched her jaw. I know that. No, Dominic said quietly. He sold you twice. Her breath caught. He continued, voice low and controlled but edged with disgust. The Petrovs made the first offer. They intended to traffic you. International waters. No jurisdiction, no rescue, no escape. Sophia's knees weakened. She gripped the back of a leather chair to steady herself. Dominic watched her, jaw tight. When I found out, I confronted him. He panicked. Offered you to me instead, hoping a wedding would look cleaner than an abduction. Her stomach twisted. He didn't tell me. He wouldn't. Dominic's fingers curled around his glass. Men like him don't warn the people they sacrifice. She flinched at the word. Sacrifice. Dominic stared at her, something sharp in his gaze. Anger not at her but for her. Your father didn't choose you, he said. He chose survival. Sophia's chest tightened, breath coming shallow. She turned to the window, blinking fast. The city glittered mockingly below. Millions of lights she'd grown up beneath, thinking she understood danger. Thinking she understood her father. Why did you take me? She whispered. If you despise him so much. Dominic stepped closer. Not enough to touch, but enough for the air to change again. Because the Petrovs don't lose gracefully. They escalate. And if they had taken you, the fallout would have started a war. One your father wouldn't survive. Is that it? She asked bitterly. You saved me to make a statement? His voice softened, barely, but enough to break something inside her. I saved you because you didn't deserve the fate he handed you. And because sometimes the only way to keep someone alive in my world is to give them my name. Her lips parted. She turned toward him. He was closer than she thought. Too close. What about what I want? She whispered. Does that matter at all? Dominic's gaze flicked to her mouth for a fraction of a second. So fast she questioned if she imagined it. It matters now, he said. But 3 days ago, it wouldn't have saved you. The honesty, brutal, unvarnished, hit her harder than a lie ever could. He stepped back finally, giving her space. You'll stay here tonight. With the door locked. I'll be in the office. Sophia blinked. Not the bedroom. No, he said simply. You think I'm going to stab you in your sleep? You're too smart to try the same attack twice. She couldn't tell if it was an insult or a compliment. Probably both. She watched him walk toward the office, broad shoulders taut with tension. She didn't understand him. She didn't trust him. But she also didn't fear him like she thought she should. And that terrified her differently. Before he reached the door, she called out, Dominic. He paused. Why tell me all of this now? He didn't turn around. Because tomorrow you become untouchable. Tonight you have the right to know why. She didn't sleep. She stood at the window, watching the strip pulse beneath her, trying to imagine the girl she'd been 3 days ago. The one who believed fear belonged only on stage, in choreography, in roles she could leave behind. That girl was gone. This one was something else. And the war she'd overheard whispers of? She could feel it coming. If you've ever had someone lie to your face while pretending to protect you, comment never again. The manipulators and two-faced fakes won't say it. They never do. Morning never really came in the Imperium penthouse. Lights dimmed, lights brightened, but the city outside never slept, so time felt like a suggestion rather than a rule. Sophia stood in the marble bathroom staring at her reflection while stylists buzzed around her like anxious bees. They added pins to her hair. Removed them. Added new ones. They dusted powder across her skin in gentle taps. Someone misted perfume over her shoulders. She barely felt any of it. Her mind kept drifting to the night before. The conversation with Dominic, the truth about her father, the rawness in his voice when he said she didn't deserve the fate she'd been traded into, and the way his gaze had flicked to her mouth, that split-second betrayal of control. "Chin up," a stylist murmured, lifting her face with 2 fingers. "There. Pretty. Pretty. Not whole. Not safe. Not sane. Just pretty." Another stylist clipped a lace veil to her hair. "Mr. Cassano requested this specifically." "Of course he did. Does he have preferences on my breathing too?" Sophia muttered. The stylist blinked. "I can ask." "No," Sophia sighed. "Please don't." A knock sounded on the door. 5 minutes, a guard announced. 5 minutes until she walked down that aisle. 5 minutes until she became Mrs. Cassano. 5 minutes until the Petrovs apparently lost their minds. Her stomach twisted. She took a slow, steadying breath, trying to summon whatever strength existed in her bones. She didn't feel brave, but bravery wasn't the goal today. Survival was. The stylists filed out, leaving her alone. She looked at her reflection, dark skin glowing against the white lace, eyes sharper than they'd ever been, shoulders covered the way Dominic insisted, a veil softening the angles of her face. She barely recognized herself. "Sophia." His voice came from behind her, low and steady. Not a command. Not an intrusion. A presence. She turned. Dominic stood in the doorway, wearing a black suit that looked carved onto his body. No tie. No pocket square. Just lethal elegance and something unreadable in his eyes. "May I come in?" he asked. She blinked. Asked. Permission. From her. "Yes," she said quietly. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The room shrank. Or maybe it was her lungs that tightened when he looked at her like that. Like she was something precious and dangerous at the same time. He approached slowly, gaze sweeping over her veil, her shoulders, and the lace he'd chosen. "You look." He paused, as if searching for a word he hadn't used in years. Prepared. Not beautiful. Not stunning. Prepared. It was somehow more intimate. "Is that a compliment?" she asked softly. "It's a fact," he said. "You're steady. Your eyes are calm. You'll survive today." The words hit her harder than praise would have. She studied him. His posture was rigid, but something in his expression wasn't cold. It was controlled, tightly held, like he was containing the weight of 100 threats and 10,000 memories behind those eyes. "Dominic," she said, voice barely a whisper. "Why are you doing all this? Truly." He held her gaze for a long beat. She could almost hear the decision moving through him. Then he said, "Because I've ruined enough things in my life. You won't be one of them." Her breath caught. He stepped closer, adjusting a small pin in her veil with surprising gentleness. His fingers brushed the side of her face. By accident or intention, she couldn't tell. The touch was subtle, but her pulse reacted in a way she wished it wouldn't. "Sophia," he murmured, voice low enough that only she could hear. "When you walk out there, you're not alone." Her throat tightened. "Then what am I?" "My wife," he said simply. "If anyone touches you, they die." It shouldn't have comforted her. It did anyway. Before she could respond, a guard burst in. "Boss," he said breathlessly. "There's movement from the Petrovs. They've positioned men across the street and in the parking garage. We don't have a clean read on their numbers." Her chest seized. Dominic went still. Still enough that the air felt suddenly fragile. "How long?" he asked. "They arrived 10 minutes ago." "They're not subtle about it." "Of course not." Dominic's jaw flexed. "Increase the perimeter. No one moves without my order." The guard nodded and rushed out. Dominic turned back to her, eyes sharper now. "We proceed." "You're still doing the wedding," she whispered. "They came here to intimidate," he said. "If we cancel, they win. If we delay, they escalate. But if you stand by me in front of the families, they can't touch you." Her pulse thundered. She didn't want to be brave. She didn't want to walk into danger wearing tulle and lace. But she also didn't want to be hunted by people who saw her as property. So she lifted her chin. "Then let's go," she said. Dominic looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. Not warmth. Not affection. Respect. He offered his arm. She took it. They walked together toward the ballroom doors. As they stood before the grand entrance, moments before stepping into a ceremony flanked by killers, her breath quivered. Dominic leaned slightly toward her, his voice a whisper against her ear. Whatever happens out there, don't flinch. Don't hesitate. Don't look away. Her heart hammered. She whispered back, I don't make small movements when the music starts. For the first time, he smiled, a real fleeting curve of his mouth that disappeared almost as soon as it formed. Good, he murmured. Because this dance might save your life. The doors opened. Light poured in. Hundreds of eyes turned toward them. And somewhere beyond the flowers and chandeliers, danger waited. If you've ever had to walk straight into a situation you knew was unfair just to survive it, hit like and comment, I don't bow to cowards. The only people who won't say it are the ones who'd rather hide behind power than face the truth. The ballroom was a cathedral made of gold. Polished floors reflecting chandeliers, roses spilling over marble pillars, and guests dressed like royalty with secrets tucked into every pocket. But beneath all that beauty lay something darker, thicker, humming under the surface like an electrical wire in water. Sophia felt it immediately. Eyes followed her. Hungry, suspicious, assessing. Some are curious. Some are envious. Some are furious. Every step she took on Dominic's arm felt like wading deeper into a pool where sharks circled just out of sight. Dominic looked calm. Effortlessly so. He carried his power like a tailored suit. Comfortable, familiar, deadly. But Sophia could feel tension in the way his arm flexed beneath her grip, the subtle tightening of muscle with every shift in the room. He was scanning everything. Everyone. And he was ready to kill. They reached the altar. The priest swallowed so loudly it echoed. Dominic released her arm and turned to face her fully. They were close. Close enough she could see the fine stubble along his jaw, the faint scar near his lip, and the dark intensity in his eyes that somehow made her breath falter. Steady, he whispered, voice barely a vibration. She nodded. The priest began the ceremony, voice trembling. Dearly beloved, we gather here to. A loud crash echoed from the back of the room. Glasses. A tray. Sophia jerked. Dominic's hand closed around hers instantly. Firm, grounding, immovable. Look at me, he said quietly. Her gaze snapped up to his. He held it. And the ceremony continued. The vows felt surreal. She said, I do. He said, I do. But it was the moment after, the one no one heard, that struck harder than any words. Trust me, Dominic murmured as he leaned in to kiss her. She didn't want to. She shouldn't. But she did. The kiss was brief, barely more than a brush, but powerful enough to steady her knees. She hadn't expected that. Not gentleness. Not restraint. Not him softening for her. Applause began, polite at first, then swelling as if everyone suddenly remembered they were supposed to act normal. Dominic squeezed her hand once, then turned them toward the crowd. That was when she saw them. 3 men in dark suits standing near the exit. Silent, rigid, eyes fixed on her. Not on Dominic. Not at the ceremony. On her. She felt her blood go cold. Dominic's thumb brushed the back of her hand. Just once, a silent signal. I see them, he whispered. Her breath caught. He led her down the aisle, step by steady step. Guests leaned forward with forced smiles, forced congratulations, and forced warmth. But their eyes were where the real emotions lived. Fear, curiosity, desire for power. And beneath all that, a ruthless anticipation, waiting for something to snap. Dominic paused at the threshold of the ballroom. His body angled subtly in front of hers, shielding her from the line of sight of the Petrovs. Then he murmured, smile. She did. A small, controlled, perfect smile. Good, he said. Now don't stop. They stepped into the hallway, and the doors closed behind them with an ominous thud. Security swarmed immediately. Men with earpieces, men with guns hidden in tailored jackets, and men scanning every corridor for threats. Luca approached. "Boss." They made their move. "Not yet," Dominic said. "They're waiting. Watching." "What now?" Luca asked. Dominic looked at Sophia. "We go to the suite." She tensed. Of course. The wedding night. The moment everyone expected him to claim her. He saw the fear flicker across her face, so brief that anyone else might have missed it. Dominic didn't. "Sophia," he said quietly, "nothing happens tonight except safety." She exhaled shakily. He felt it because he leaned in slightly, close enough that his next words brushed her temple. "You're not prey," he murmured. "Not anymore." Luca cleared his throat. "I'll bring the rest of the team upstairs." Dominic nodded. Then he placed his hand on the small of her back, not possessive, not commanding, just guiding, as they walked toward the private elevator. The moment the doors slid open, Sophia stepped inside, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Dominic entered behind her, pressing the keycard that locked the elevator and disabled all access from outside. The lift began to rise. Sophia stared at her reflection in the elevator's mirrored walls, the white gown, the veil, and the subtle tremor in her hands she hoped no one noticed. Dominic watched her carefully. "You're doing well," he said. "Doing what?" she whispered. "Staying calm." She laughed, short and brittle. "Is that what this is? Calm? It is for someone who almost fainted last night." Her mouth dropped open. "I did not." "You did," he said. "You just disguised it well. This is how you talk to your new wife," she muttered, crossing her arms. "Critique her fainting skills?" His mouth twitched, dangerously close to another smile. He fought it. "Barely." "No," he said. "This is how I talk to someone who needs to know she's stronger than she thinks." Her breath caught. Before she could respond, the elevator chimed, and the doors opened to the penthouse. They stepped into the suite. Silence wrapped around them, heavy, charged, intimate. Dominic walked past her, slowly removing his jacket. Sophia's breath hitched. Her heart skittered wildly, not from fear this time, but from something she didn't dare name yet. He threw the jacket over a chair, rolled up his sleeves, and exposed the tattoos winding along his arms like shadows. Then he turned to her. The room felt suddenly too warm. "Sophia," he said softly, "you don't owe me anything tonight." Her eyes widened. "You sleep in the bed," he continued. "I'll be on the couch." "But—" "No," his voice left no room for argument. "There's no debt between us. Not now, not ever." She stared at him. For a moment, her heartbeat wasn't fear. It was confusion. It was disbelief. It was something softer, something warmer, something dangerous. "Dominic," she whispered. He froze. And then, glass shattered. A window. On the far side of the penthouse. Gunfire followed. Short. Controlled. A warning shot. A message. Sophia screamed. Dominic lunged toward her instantly, pulling her into him, shielding her body with his voice sharp and lethal. "Get down." For one terrifying moment, she felt his heartbeat slamming against her back, his breath at her ear, and his arms wrapped around her like a fortress. The war had arrived early, and it had come for her. If you've ever had someone try to intimidate you just because they thought they had power, comment, "Not scared of bullies." People who rely on fear always stay silent. They hate being called out. Understood. Here is Chapter 6 only, continuing seamlessly from the exact final moment of Chapter 5. Glass shattering, gunfire, Dominic pulling Sophia down. "I will wait for your approval before moving on." Glass rained down like icy needles, scattering across the penthouse floor in glittering shards. Dominic's arms locked around Sophia, pulling her down behind the thick marble pillar beside the elevator. Her knees scraped the floor, but she barely registered the sting. Only the sound of Dominic's heartbeat pounding against her back and the echo of gunfire ringing in her ears. "Stay down," he breathed, voice low, deadly and controlled. Another shot cracked through the air. This one hit the wall inches above where her head had been. Sophia gasped, instinctively pressing closer to Dominic. His body closed around hers like a barrier, Warm, solid, and terrifyingly steady. "Dominic," she whispered, voice shaking. "They found us." He angled his head, eyes scanning the room in sharp, calculated motions. "No. They're probing. Testing my response time." A third shot. Closer. This one punched through a lamp, sending sparks skittering across the floor. Sophia flinched. Dominic didn't. He moved with purpose, with precision, with the controlled fury of someone who had been waiting for violence and was almost relieved to greet it. He cupped the back of her head, guiding her lower until her cheek pressed against the floor. "Keep your head down." Her breath trembled. "Are we safe here?" No, his voice was calm. Too calm. "But we will be." He shifted, reaching under the back of the couch, where a hidden compartment clicked open. Sophia's eyes widened as he pulled out a sleek black handgun. No hesitation, no fumbling, just a practiced, fluid motion like breathing. "Dominic." Her throat tightened. "You knew this might happen." "I knew they'd be stupid," he muttered, checking the chamber. "I didn't expect them to be this stupid the first hour." She swallowed hard. "What do we do?" "You breathe," he said. "I handle everything else." Before she could object, he moved. Fast, silent, and dangerously controlled. He rose just enough to peek over the edge of the marble pillar. Sophia grabbed his sleeve instinctively. "Dominic, don't." His eyes lowered to hers. For a heartbeat, everything else went quiet. "Sophia," he said, voice low, almost steady enough to be gentle. "I'm not leaving you. I'm just assessing angles." She forced herself to release him. He shifted again, leaning out. Barely half an inch. A bullet struck the pillar and ricocheted. Sophia yelped and grabbed his arm, yanking him back. He looked at her, surprised. She looked at him, horrified. Her breathing was too fast, too loud, and too close to panic. He tightened his grip on her hand. Not harsh, just anchoring. "Listen to me," he said, voice firm enough to cut through the fear. "They do not get you. They don't touch you. They don't breathe near you. Do you understand?" She nodded shakily. His thumb brushed over the back of her hand again, just once before he pulled away. Luca's voice crackled over the intercom panel near the kitchenette. "Boss, we're 3 floors down. Tell me where the shots are coming from." Dominic reached up and clicked a button on his watch. "North window. Long range. They broke through the storm glass. Amateurs." "Copy that." Luca's voice sharpened. "We're coming up. 40 seconds. 40 seconds." That was a lifetime in gunfire. Another shot hit the coffee table, splintering wood across the floor. Sophia flinched so hard her veil caught on a shard of glass. Dominic reached back, unhooking it swiftly without removing his gaze from the window. "Take this off," he said. She blinked. "What? Why?" "Because it's white," he said, "and white gets you killed." Her blood froze. Hands trembling, Sophia tore the veil off and tossed it aside. Dominic's eyes dropped to the rip along her sleeve where glass had sliced through the lace. He swore softly. Then, unexpectedly, lifted his shirt slightly and tore off a strip of the inner lining, pressing it against her arm. "You're bleeding." The cut was small. Shallow. Barely anything compared to the fear skyrocketing through her veins. But the way he touched her, focused, careful, steady, made her chest tighten. "Dominic," she whispered. His jaw flexed. This shouldn't be happening tonight. Should it ever happen? He didn't answer. Because another sound cut through the room. Boots. Running. Dozens of them. Then, the penthouse door burst open. Luca and 8 guards stormed in, guns raised, forming a protective circle around the broken window. Dominic finally exhaled. He grabbed Sophia's waist, quick, firm, and helped her stand. She wobbled. He steadied her, hand holding her just above the hip, fingers pressing in like he needed to confirm she was really upright, really breathing, really alive. Luca scanned her. "Ma'am, are you hit?" "She's fine," Dominic answered before she could speak. "Boss," Luca said, "we've got eyes on the shooter's nest. They're retreating. But they left something. A casing." Polished. Marked. Sophia tensed. Marked with what? Luca glanced at Dominic and hesitated. Then said it. A wolf engraving. Sophia's breath caught. Dominic went very still. That's not the Petrovs, he said. Luca shook his head. No, sir. It's worse. Dominic's voice dropped to something cold, something lethal, something she had never heard from him before. Who sent the wolf? Luca swallowed. Your brother. Sophia's heart stopped. Dominic's expression didn't change. Didn't flicker, didn't crack, but something shifted beneath the surface, a fault line settling into place. He stared at the shattered glass. This wedding, he said quietly, just became a declaration of war. And then he turned to Sophia, softening. Just for her. Just for a moment no one else could see. It's not the world I promised you, he murmured. But I swear on my life, they will not take you from me. Before she could answer. Before she could even breathe. Shouts erupted from the hallway. More footsteps. More voices. More danger is gathering like a storm. The night wasn't over. Not even close. If you've ever had your life thrown into chaos because of someone else's family drama, comment, not taking their mess. Power-hungry people hate it when you refuse to play along. Perfect. Here is Chapter 7 only, continuing exactly from the final moment of Chapter 6, shouts in the hallway, danger rising. I will wait for your approval before moving on. The shouts in the hallway sharpened. Boots hitting marble, men barking orders, and the metallic clack of guns being raised. Sophia's pulse kicked up again, sharp and hot, as Dominic pushed her subtly behind him. Not hiding her. Shielding her. Luca cursed under his breath and motioned to 2 guards. Secure the hallway. No one comes through that door unless they've bled for it. Dominic didn't look away from the entrance. Who the hell is that? He demanded. Before Luca could answer, the hallway noise resolved into something clearer. Not gunfire. Not Petrovs. Not assassins. Arguing. Loud, messy, infuriatingly confident arguing. Then, a figure shoved his way into the penthouse, as if he owned it. Tall. Smirking. Brown hair cut shorter than Dominic's, eyes a paler, colder blue. He wore a suit, but it hung on him with a looser arrogance. Untucked shirt, tie draped around his neck like he'd abandoned the idea halfway through. Sophia didn't know his name, but she recognized the family resemblance instantly. Dominic's younger brother. And from the way every guard stiffened, the wolf engraving suddenly made sense. He swaggered in like a man who'd never been told no. Brother, he drawled. You throw a wedding and don't invite me? I'm hurt. Dominic's voice dropped to a razor-edge calm. Raphael. You sent a sniper to say congratulations. Raphael grinned wider. Relax. It was a warning shot. Mostly. His gaze flicked to Sophia, sharp and appraising. So this is the ballerina. Dominic moved so fast that Sophia barely saw it. 1 second Raphael was smirking. The next thing, Dominic had him by the collar and slammed him up against the cracked marble pillar. Look at her again, Dominic growled. And you lose the eye. Raphael laughed. Actually laughed. Come on, Dom. I'm family. You're a liability. Sophia stepped back instinctively at the violence between them, but Dominic's arm shot out behind him, palm brushing her stomach, a silent stay there. Protective. Automatic. Not even a full thought. Raphael's gaze darted to the small gesture. His smirk deepened. Oh, he said slowly, I see. She's not just a shield for the commission. You actually. Dominic slammed him again. Harder. Finish that sentence, Dominic said softly, and I will bury you on my wedding night. Luca cleared his throat in the corner. Boss, we should. Not now, Dominic snapped. Raphael lifted his hands in mock surrender. Relax. I'm not here for her. I'm here to give Big Brother a gift. Dominic's jaw worked. You tried to shoot into my penthouse. A test. Raphael shrugged. To see how tight your new security is. And his eyes slid to Sophia again. To see why the Petrovs wanted her so badly, they were willing to risk war. Sophia's stomach curled. Dominic stepped between them fully, blocking Raphael's view. You are not to say her name. You are not to say the Petrovs' name to her. Or to me. Not until you explain why you're cooperating with them. Silence. A heavy one. The kind that carried danger. Raphael's smirk faltered, only for a flicker, before snapping back into place. Not cooperating. Negotiating. He straightened his collar when Dominic released him. There's a difference, brother. One you'd understand if you weren't so sentimental these days. Dominic froze. Every guard in the room froze with him. Sophia felt the shift, the tension pulling taut, the air tightening. Raphael had said the wrong word. Not an insult. Worse. Accusation. Sentimental. Dominic stepped in close, voice low, lethal. You think protecting a woman from traffickers makes me weak? Raphael leaned in too, whisper soft but vicious. I think marrying a debt makes you stupid. Sophia's breath hitched, quiet, involuntary, and impossible to hide. Dominic heard it. His eyes flicked to her, only for a heartbeat, but it was enough. Raphael saw it too, and grinned. Oh, she heard that? Raphael said brightly. Well then. Dominic decked him. A clean, sharp punch across the jaw that sent Raphael stumbling into the wall. The guards didn't move. Luca didn't flinch. They'd seen this before. Raphael wiped the blood from his lip. So the rumors are true, he muttered. You actually care. Sophia's chest seized, tight, confused, disbelieving. Dominic ignored the bait. Ignored Raphael entirely. He turned to Sophia. Did he scare you? His voice softened, impossibly. In front of a room full of killers. Sophia blinked at him. Dominic. I'm fine. Raphael scoffed. She's shaking. Dominic shot him a murderous glare. You caused enough damage tonight. Say what you came to say or get out. Raphael sighed dramatically, patting his pockets. Fine. Business first. He tossed something across the room. It skidded across broken glass until it stopped at Dominic's feet. A flash drive. Luca picked it up carefully. Boss. Raphael shoved his hands in his pockets. Everything the Petrovs have planned for your new bride. Routes. Buyers. Negotiations. They haven't given up. Dominic. A wedding doesn't make her untouchable. It just raises her price. Sophia's stomach dropped. Dominic went still. A terrifying, absolute stillness. They come after my wife, he said, and I will make their entire bloodline a ghost story. Raphael shrugged. Hey, don't threaten me. I'm helping you. You're helping yourself, Dominic snapped. You always do. Raphael winked. And look where it got me. Standing in your penthouse. Alive. Dominic stepped forward, dangerously close to erupting again, but Sophia grabbed his sleeve. Dominic, she whispered. Please. He stopped. For her. Only for her. Raphael saw that too. And his expression changed. Not smug, not mocking, but calculating. Oh, Raphael murmured, amusement curling in his voice. This is going to be fun. Luca stepped forward before Dominic could lunge again. Raphael, you need to leave. Now. Raphael backed toward the door. I'll be in touch, brother. Try not to die tonight. Or let her die. That'd be awkward. Dominic threw a wine bottle at him. Raphael dodged it easily and disappeared into the hall, laughing as guards escorted him out. Silence fell. Heavy. Violent. Crackling with the aftermath. Dominic's chest rose and fell like he'd been holding his breath the whole time. Sophia stepped closer. Dominic. He didn't look at her. He was staring at the broken window. At the shards. At the flash drive. At night, the city beyond. Like a man seeing a battlefield instead of a skyline. When he finally spoke, his voice was gravelly. You asked earlier if this should ever happen. He turned to her. Now you know the answer. Sophia swallowed. What happens next? He looked at her, eyes dark and burning with purpose. We fight back. Then. He reached out. Not touching her. Not yet. Just close enough that she could feel the heat of his hand near hers. And Sophia, he added, voice low, grounded, and deadly sincere. You're not doing this alone. A tremor ran through her. Not fear. Something else. Luca stepped forward. Boss. Orders. Dominic didn't look away from her. We protect my wife, he said. Even if it burns this city down. If you've ever dealt with someone who hides behind family while causing chaos, comment. Blood isn't an excuse. Because manipulators count on silence. And silence is how they win. Dominic's vow still hung in the air, simmering like heat rising off pavement. Sophia stood perfectly still, her pulse thudding against her ribs. His hand hovered near hers, close enough for her to feel the warmth, not close enough to give her certainty. The room was chaos, shattered glass on the floor, guards fanning out, and Luca issuing orders into his calm, but in the eye of that storm stood Dominic and Sophia. Two people who hadn't chosen the same life, yet were now bound by something heavier than vows. Dominic shifted first. Luca, he said without looking away from her. Lock the building down. No movement in or out. Anyone not wearing my crest gets dropped. Done. Luca signaled the guards, who scattered with military precision. Sophia watched them go, breath catching on the bitterness of fear, and something else. Something she didn't want to name. Dominic finally lowered his hand, brushing two knuckles lightly against her wrist. A small, deliberate touch. Not dominant. Not possessive. Not demanding. Grounding. You're shaking. His voice was quiet but edged with steel. You're allowed to. I'm not fragile, Sophia whispered. His jaw twitched. I never said you were. For a heartbeat, they held each other's gaze, his intense and unfiltered, her searching, unsure if she should be afraid of him or afraid for him. Dominic broke the moment with a breath. Not a sigh, he didn't sigh. A measured exhale. You need to change. Get out of that dress. The lace is torn and... He looked away, swallowing something sharp. There's glass in the hem. She glanced down. Tiny glittering fragments clung to the satin, catching the light like frost. Right. Yes. Dominic nodded toward the inner bedroom. Go. I'll send someone to help. No, Sophia stepped closer, voice firm. I can do it myself. Dominic blinked once, surprised. Then he nodded slowly, almost with respect. Very well. She moved past him, but he caught her arm, not tight, just enough to stop her. She turned back. His eyes met hers, dark and intense. Sophia, lock the door behind you. Until I come. Her breath stumbled. He released her immediately, as if aware of how much the moment pressed on her ribs. Sophia slipped into the bedroom, closing the door softly and turning the lock. The room hummed with quiet, silence thick enough to hear her heartbeat. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her hair was coming undone, tendrils falling onto her cheeks. Her makeup was smeared at the corners. Her dress, once pristine and suffocatingly beautiful, now looked like a war artifact. Her fingers trembled as she unclasped the buttons down her back. She whispered to her reflection, her voice barely there. You are not a thing. She repeated it. Not a thing. Not a debt. Not a pawn. The words steadied her enough to step out of the ruined gown. She pulled on one of Dominic's shirts from the closet. White, crisp, and big enough to swallow her frame. It smelled like cedar and smoke and something darker she couldn't name. She exhaled, shaken by how comforting that scent was. A knock sounded on the door. Soft. Controlled. Dominic. Sophia. She opened it slowly. He took one look at her, bare legs, oversized shirt, hair undone, and exhaled so subtly she almost missed it. But she didn't. His voice dropped lower, rougher. That's good. You're safer in that. Her brows lifted. Safer. He motioned her closer to the center of the room. My shirt's easier to move in, easier to run in. And it's visible on the cams. It lets the men know exactly who they're protecting. She swallowed. And the dress. He nudged the discarded gown with his foot. It's a target. Sophia felt a strange shiver. Part fear, part gratitude, part something unnamed. Dominic stepped closer, eyes scanning her slowly, carefully. Did you cut yourself more taking it off? No, she whispered. I'm fine. His gaze lingered on the bruise forming along her knee. You fell hard. It's nothing. It's nothing, he said softly. Not to me. She froze. Dominic seemed to realize what he'd said, his jaw tightening. He looked away, pacing once in front of her. We don't have time for, he cut himself off. I need to brief you. About what? He turned back, all business but still burning underneath. The Petrovs aren't finished. Tonight was testing lines. Raphael just confirmed they intend to cross them. So what do we do? Sophia asked. We get ahead of them. Dominic motioned her to follow. I'm taking you downstairs. Her pulse jumped. Downstairs where? To the panic suite, he said. It's 6 floors underground. Concrete reinforced. Safe. Sophia stiffened. You want to hide me? He stopped. Turned. Looked at her. Not harsh. Not dismissive. Just honest. I want you alive. The words hit her like a physical impact. But I'm not hiding you, he continued. I'm buying time. I'm planning. And when the Petrovs come knocking. His voice dropped into something lethal. They won't find a scared girl. They'll find a war. Sophia drew in a breath. Dominic. I'm not a soldier. No, he said, stepping closer. You're a woman they tried to sell. A woman they tried to steal. He touched her chin gently, lifting it. And that's more dangerous to them than any weapon. Her heart thudded. A guard called from the hallway. Boss. We're ready. Dominic's fingers slid away from her gently, carefully, as though he didn't trust himself to touch her longer. Stay close to me, he murmured. And don't look back. He opened the door and took her hand. Not commanding. Not dragging. But anchoring her to him. As they stepped into the hallway, guards formed a wall around them, escorting them toward the private elevator. Sophia's bare feet padded softly on the cool marble. Dominic squeezed her hand once as they approached the elevator. Not reassurance. A silent vow. Luca keyed the panel. All clear, boss. Dominic led her inside. As the doors began to close, a voice echoed from down the hall. Enjoy the basement, brother. Raphael. Somewhere out of sight. Sophia tensed. Dominic's grip tightened. The elevator sealed shut, cutting off the sound, the chaos, the danger. But not the war waiting on the other side. If you've ever had someone sabotage your life and laugh about it, comment not letting snakes win. Because manipulators thrive on silence. And silence is surrender. Perfect. Here's Chapter 9, continuing seamlessly from the end of Chapter 8. The elevator hummed, a low metallic heartbeat, carrying them down 6 floors into the bowels of Dominic's fortress. Sophia's hand stayed in his, not clinging, just tethered, a line between chaos and some fragile sense of control. The doors opened to a stark, concrete corridor lined with reinforced steel doors. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, throwing sharp shadows on Dominic's guards, who moved like ghosts, silent but unyielding. This way, Dominic said, his voice lower now, gravelly, the edges of urgency cutting through the calm he forced himself to wear. Sophia's eyes swept the corridor, noting the panic suite's entry code, biometric lock, and cameras, every inch fortified. It smelled of steel, disinfectant, and a faint trace of cedar, the same scent lingering on Dominic's shirt. A reminder, for better or worse, that she was not alone. Once inside, Dominic closed the door behind them. The suite was stark but efficient. Tactical screens, communication panels, maps littered with pins and red lines, and weapons stored neatly in racks along one wall. Sit, Dominic said, gesturing toward a chair near the central console. His hands moved quickly across the screens, pulling up security feeds, mapping entry points, and calculating escape routes. Sophia noticed his focus, but also the flickers of tension in his jaw and the tightening of his shoulders. The Petrovs are mobilizing fast, he muttered, tracing a line on the digital map. They've got 3 squads converging on the east perimeter. We hold them off for maybe 30 minutes before they breach the secondary defenses. Sophia leaned forward, curiosity fighting the lingering fear. 30 minutes. That's it? Dominic shot her a quick look, dark and serious. 30 minutes is enough. If we're smart. If we're precise. And if you... He paused, locking eyes with her. Stay alive, not a pawn, not a target. Her pulse quickened, but she nodded. I understand. He exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand over his face before moving to the wall of weapons. Carefully, methodically, he began assembling what they might need. A Glock here. A combat knife there. Not for her, not yet, not directly. But the presence of tools of potential was another kind of reassurance. Why are you telling me this? Sophia asked quietly. Dominic paused, his back to her. Because fear is contagious. And you're not someone I can afford to have paralyzed by it. She swallowed. I'm not afraid of you. No, he said, spinning toward her, voice low but piercing. I don't mean me. I mean them. The Petrovs. The men who think this building is theirs to destroy. I don't want you broken by them before I even get a chance to protect you. Sophia's hands twitched at her sides, an impulse to reach out, to offer something, anything. Dominic noticed but didn't move closer. He was careful. He always was, even when chaos demanded otherwise. A red light blinked on the map. Dominic froze, eyes narrowing. East perimeter. Movement. Sophia leaned closer. Already. They're testing the outer walls. Small teams. Snipers, scouts. But they're probing. Waiting for a weakness. His jaw tightened. We can't give them one. A long, loaded silence settled. Then Dominic spoke again, quieter, almost to himself. Sophia, you're stronger than you know. That strength, they'll never see it coming. And if they do, we make them regret it. She swallowed hard, nodding. Then we fight smart. Dominic's expression softened fractionally, and he gestured toward the console. We start by knowing every inch of this place like it's an extension of ourselves. Every vent, every corridor, every blind spot. They think fear is their ally. But knowledge is ours. Sophia felt a surge of adrenaline. Something about being included, trusted, not just hidden away. It sparked a strange, fierce courage inside her. Dominic glanced at her, eyes dark as midnight. Stay close. Move with me. And remember, fear is temporary. Regret is permanent. We make our own rules tonight. A soft beep. Another red is creeping along the east wall. He looked back at her, voice firm, almost tender. Ready. Sophia squared her shoulders. Always. Dominic's lips pressed into a thin line. Good. Because war doesn't wait for anyone to feel ready. The panic suite hummed with tension. Every monitor, every map, every weapon within reach was a promise. And for the first time, Sophia realized she wasn't just surviving. She was part of something bigger. Something alive, dangerous, and impossibly intoxicating. The battle had begun. If you've ever faced someone who underestimated you and came back stronger, comment, I rise unbroken. Because strength is contagious when shared, not hidden. The first sounds hit them like distant thunder. Sharp, metallic, urgent. The faint ping of movement sensors followed by the low hum of tactical comms lighting up. Dominic moved like liquid, precise and controlled, every step measured. Guards flanked him and Sophia as they approached a reinforced observation window overlooking the east perimeter. Red dots moved across the thermal feed. Small teams, probing, testing defenses, confident they wouldn't meet resistance. They think it's a joke, Dominic muttered, jaw tight. They think I hide behind walls. But walls are only useful if someone is inside, willing to fight. Sophia's stomach nodded. And if we fail? He turned to her, eyes sharp, unblinking. We don't. Not tonight. And that's why you're here. Because you survive, because you're smart, because you see things they won't expect. Her pulse jumped, but she nodded. The fear was still there, but Dominic's quiet confidence was like fire in her veins. A subtle vibration ran through the floor. Snipers adjusting positions. Dominic's hand brushed against hers. Just a touch, a tether. Stay low. Watch the monitors. Call out anything that's out of place. Sophia crouched at the console, eyes scanning feeds, following every red dot. Her hand shook at first, but then focus overtook panic. She caught the faint shimmer of a sniper's lens reflecting in the moonlight. There, she whispered. Top balcony. 2 o'clock. Dominic's jaw flexed. Good eye. He moved silently to the weapon rack, selecting a rifle with practiced hands. They won't get a second chance. Shots rang out, sharp, controlled. The guards opened fire, ricochets sending sparks against reinforced walls. The hum of comms turned into an orchestral chaos of strategy, movement, and survival. Sophia's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. Every new red dot, every camera feed, became a puzzle, a map she had to decipher in real time. Snipers down, she called. Perimeter team, moving behind the north wall. Dominic nodded without looking away, firing a precise shot through the observation window. Copy that. Block entry routes. Push them back. No mistakes. Minutes stretched, each one sharp as a blade. Sweat dampened her hair, hands trembling but precise. Dominic's voice guided her, low and intense. Focus. Predict. Survive. One of the red dots vanished, and another multiplied. The Petrovs were learning and adapting. But so were they. Dominic glanced at her, eyes locking for a brief heartbeat. You're doing well. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Not tonight. Her chest tightened. I'm not just hiding anymore. Exactly. His lips twitched, almost a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. The threat was too real. You're part of this fight. And if we win, it's because we fought together. Sophia's gaze swept the tactical feeds, catching the faint movement of Raphael coordinating from a distance. Dominic's expression hardened. Raphael's bold tonight. Reckless. That's a mistake. She pressed a button on the console, rerouting a camera feed to track his squad. He's moving toward the west stairwell. Small team. They're isolated. Dominic didn't hesitate. I'll handle it. You keep an eye on the rest. If anyone breaks through, call it out. Understood. The battle surged. The panic suit was a calm eye inside a storm of strategy, gunfire, and shadows. For a moment, the chaos seemed endless, but inside that room, a strange rhythm formed. Dominic, the guards, and Sophia were in sync. Eyes sharp, movements precise, hearts racing. A sudden alarm blared. Intruders at the main doors. Dominic froze, gaze hardening. Here it comes. Stay close. And Sophia. She looked up. He softened just a fraction. Trust yourself. The doors shuddered under the first impact of breaching tools. Concrete dust filled the air. The Petrovs were here. The war had crossed the threshold. Sophia swallowed, gripping the console. Adrenaline surged, but fear was no longer in charge. She was a part of this, alive, aware, dangerous. Dominic crouched beside her, voice low and lethal. They'll find no scared girl tonight. Only fire. And fire was exactly what they were about to unleash. If you've ever stood against overwhelming odds and refused to break, comment, I am unshaken. Because courage isn't born in safety, it's forged in the storm. The doors trembled under the weight of the Petrovs' battering. Steel groaned. Dust choked the air. Every second stretched into eternity, each one sharpened by the hiss of incoming danger. Dominic's hand slid into hers again. Light, deliberate, anchoring her. Stay close. Watch everything. Every shadow, every reflection. Nothing moves without you seeing it first. Sophia's eyes darted to the tactical monitors, then back to the doors. Her chest tightened, adrenaline sharpening her senses until the panic suit felt almost alive, every beep, every flicker of a red heartbeat. The doors splintered. Concrete shards fell. Dust clouded the corridor. Dominic moved first, rifle raised, stepping into the doorway with a lethal calm. Guards flanked him, precision firing, every shot calculated to buy them space. Sophia crouched behind the console, scanning feeds. 2 at the north wall. 1 by the vents. Raphael, he's inside. Dominic's jaw tightened. Not for long. He moved with the grace of a predator, each step calculated, each movement designed to dominate the chaos. From her vantage, Sophia could see the first of the Petrovs breach the panic suite. Dominic's men engaged immediately, muffled thuds and sharp bursts of gunfire echoing off reinforced concrete. She felt her pulse hammering, but the fear was strangely focused now, clarity born of necessity. A flash on the monitor, Raphael himself, trying to flank from the west stairwell. Sophia called out, "West stairwell." Raphael, moving fast. Dominic pivoted, firing a single, precise shot. Raphael hit the floor, stunned, not dead. The other intruders faltered at the sight, hesitation giving Dominic's team the edge. "Good," he murmured. "Keep watching. Don't look away." Sophia felt the power of that responsibility. Every movement she tracked and every alert she gave mattered. She realized she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was influencing the fight, shaping it. Her fear was a tool, not a chain. Another breach point. This time at the vents. 2 intruders slipped inside, underestimating the defensive systems Dominic had installed. Sophia spotted the movement instantly. Vents, 2 incoming. Dominic swung, gun aimed with effortless precision. Shots rang out. 1 intruder dropped. The other scrambled backward. Guards sealed the vent immediately. The threat was neutralized. Sophia exhaled shakily. Dominic turned to her, expression unreadable but eyes dark and intense. "You're good at this." "I'm keeping up," she said, heart still racing. He smirked, faint but deadly. "Keeping up is enough. For now." The battle raged, every red dot a test, every shadow a challenge. Yet inside the panic suite, a strange rhythm held. Dominic's calm authority, the guard's silent efficiency, and Sophia's sharp vigilance. Chaos outside, control inside. The last alarm blared, a heavy thud at the main vault door. Dominic's eyes narrowed. They're desperate. That's their mistake. Sophia's hands hovered over the console. Main vault, movement detected. 2 men armed. They're trying to breach it from inside the building. Dominic nodded. Then we meet them. Together. He glanced at her, voice low, almost intimate amid the storm. Remember, fear is temporary. Control is everything. Sophia swallowed, gripping the edge of the console. I'm ready. He didn't hesitate. With a single glance at his team and a flick of his hand, they moved as one, a living, breathing force of calculation and precision. Outside, the Petrovs roared and surged. Inside, Dominic and Sophia held the line, alive, aware, and more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. And in that moment, Sophia realized she wasn't just surviving Dominic's world anymore. She was owning it. If you've ever fought against impossible odds and refused to be broken, comment, "I am fire." Because courage isn't inherited. It's claimed in the heat of battle. The chaos outside had escalated into a storm of destruction. The Petrovs weren't just testing Dominic's defenses anymore. They were tearing at them, relentless, calculating, and confident in their numbers. Inside the panic suite, Dominic moved like a conductor in a symphony of violence. Guards fired, took positions, and relayed updates, and Dominic's eyes darted across the tactical monitors, reading every movement and predicting every strike. Sophia stayed at the console, breath rapid but controlled, eyes flicking between feeds, cameras, and thermal sensors. Her hands flew over the controls, tagging targets, calling out intrusions, and coordinating movements. Every alert, every decision, she realized, could save lives. 2 at the vault west side, she called, heart hammering. They're trying to open it with explosives. Dominic spun, rifle in hand, moving toward the breach with lethal intent. Get the blast doors sealed. No exceptions. Guards scrambled. Metallic doors slid shut, sparks flying as the locking mechanism engaged. The intruders pounded against it, frustration rising in their shouts, but Dominic's defenses held. Sophia caught a flicker on the monitor. Raphael had survived his earlier encounter, limping but still armed. He was trying to regroup his men, finding another weak point. Raphael's still moving, Sophia warned. Dominic's eyes darkened. Then we finish this now. He gestured to her. Stay on the monitors. I'll handle the rest. She hesitated, the fear and adrenaline twisting in her chest. Dominic. I want to. Stay here, he interrupted, firm but not unkind. We can't afford mistakes. You're the eyes of this operation. Without you, we lose situational awareness. Sophia exhaled sharply, hands tightening on the console. She was part of this fight now, whether he wanted her on the front lines or not. Explosions rattled the panic suite as the Petrovs attempted to breach multiple points simultaneously. Dominic's team moved with precision, covering each angle, each breach. The sounds of gunfire and shattered steel outside were relentless. Yet inside, Dominic's calm focus anchored them all. Sophia's eyes locked on a movement pattern. Raphael's squad was attempting to flank from an old maintenance tunnel. She called out the coordinates. Tunnel. North side. 4 intruders. Dominic pivoted instantly, assessing the threat, firing, and taking positions. The guards intercepted, taking down the intruders with surgical efficiency. Raphael stumbled back, fury and disbelief in his eyes. Then came the signal that froze Sophia's blood. One of the intruders had managed to bypass a secondary sensor. They were inside the panic suite itself. Too close. Dominic's gaze sharpened. Inside, he said, low and lethal. Cover me. Now. Sophia's hands moved instinctively, locking doors, sealing entry points, and guiding guards toward the threat. Every second mattered. Every movement could mean life or death. The intruder burst through a side door, weapon raised. Dominic was there instantly, moving like a shadow, disarming him before a shot could be fired. The man hit the ground with a grunt, defeated. Sophia's chest heaved. Dominic's eyes met hers, hard and intense, but not unkind. See. You kept them from getting further. You're saving lives. She nodded, words failing her. Dominic's lips tightened into a thin line as he scanned the remaining feeds. Raphael's desperate. That means we're ahead. They're playing from fear, not strategy. Sophia's hands trembled, adrenaline surging. Then we keep them on the defensive? Yes, Dominic said, his voice dark and sharp. We make them regret underestimating us. Tonight, we show them that fear belongs to us, not them. Another explosion rocked the outer corridors. Sparks and smoke filled the air. But inside the panic suite, Dominic and Sophia moved with lethal synergy. Her eyes, his hands, the guards, the weapons, every piece in perfect alignment. Sophia realized in that moment something she hadn't expected. The fear was still there, but so was exhilaration. She wasn't just surviving Dominic's world. She was fighting in it, shaping it, conquering it. Dominic glanced at her, the first trace of a smile flickering at the corner of his mouth. Not bad for someone who isn't a soldier. She swallowed, heartbeat racing. Not bad for someone who refuses to be a target. Outside, the Petrovs were relentless. Inside, Dominic and Sophia were unstoppable. The war had reached its peak, but together they weren't just surviving. They were winning. If you've ever faced an enemy who thought you were weak, comment, I am the storm. Because strength isn't given, it's forged when the world comes at you full force. The panic suite trembled again, louder this time. Sparks rained from the outer corridors as the Petrovs made their most aggressive push yet. Explosions rattled the walls, and alarms screamed like sirens in a storm. Dominic moved with precision, rifle sweeping the room, eyes calculating, every muscle coiled. Guards fell into position, holding lines like statues of steel. Sophia stayed at the console, heart hammering, adrenaline sharpening her senses to a razor's edge. She traced red dots, tagged targets, and sealed doors. Her voice rang out over the comms, concise and firm. North corridor, 3 intruders. West stairwell. One moving fast. Vault door reinforced. Holding. Tunnel breach sealed. Dominic glanced at her, a flicker of acknowledgement crossing his dark eyes. Good. Keep them spotted. Don't let anything surprise me. Sophia swallowed hard. Raphael. He's regrouping again. He's sending men to the east, trying to split your defenses. Dominic's jaw tightened. Then we force him to overcommit. Let him make mistakes. He pivoted, issuing rapid commands to the guards. East wall. Cover the flank. Bring suppressors. Hold your ground, no mercy. Gunfire erupted outside, echoing through the concrete walls. Sophia's pulse raced, but she was calm enough to see the patterns now. The way Raphael moved, the timing of each breach, and the hesitation of his men. 2 at the vent's north side, she called out. Dominic moved instantly, a shadow crossing the panic suite, neutralizing the threat before the intruders could even react. Guards swept in behind him, removing bodies and sealing entry points. Then the real threat appeared, Raphael himself, fully armed, charging the main vault door with a small squad. His eyes blazed with desperation, fury, and something colder, calculated rage. Dominic leveled his rifle at Raphael, his voice calm and lethal. This ends now. Raphael smirked, lips curling. You think this fortress can save you? You think she, his eyes flicked to Sophia, rage twisting his features, can make a difference? Sophia's breath caught. Dominic's hand brushed hers lightly, a tether grounding her. She's not your pawn, he said, voice low and cutting. And you're about to find out exactly why. Gunfire erupted. Raphael's men rushed in, but Dominic's team had the advantage. Each shot, each movement was precise. Raphael faltered, realizing too late that he had underestimated the coordination between Dominic, Sophia, and the guards. Sophia's hands were steady now, guiding the team, tracking movements, and sealing breaches in real time. Her eyes locked on Raphael as he tried to regroup, signaling his men. Dominic advanced, methodical and unstoppable, forcing Raphael back with every step. You're out of options, Dominic said, voice dark and sharp. Leave, surrender, or die. Raphael's smirk faltered. He glanced around, eyes flicking to every corner, every monitor, and every trained hand in the panic suite. He realized he had been trapped, outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and outclassed. Sophia's voice cut through the chaos. Raphael, your men are isolated. End it. Raphael hesitated. Fury, pride, and desperation tangled in his expression. Then, with a guttural curse, he backed off, signaling retreat. The remaining intruders scattered, leaving the east and north corridors silent, except for the hum of alarms still echoing. Dominic lowered his rifle slowly, scanning the room, then locking eyes with Sophia. You see what just happened? She nodded, chest heaving, adrenaline still coursing. We did it. Together. He stepped closer, voice softer, almost intimate. Not just together. You kept your head. You protected lives. You changed this fight. Sophia's throat tightened. I didn't just hide. I fought with you. Dominic's lips curved, faint but real. And that makes all the difference. Outside, the city still hummed, unaware that one war had been fought and won in the shadows. Inside, Dominic and Sophia stood among guards and monitors, alive, victorious, and bonded by fire and strategy. For the first time, Sophia realized the truth. She wasn't a pawn, a target, or a debt. She was a force. And together with Dominic, they were unstoppable. If you've ever faced an enemy who thought they could control you and prove them wrong, comment, I am unbreakable. Because strength isn't given, it's earned in the heat of battle. The silence after the battle was almost deafening. The alarms had quieted, the red dots vanished from the monitors, and the heavy scent of gunpowder lingered in the air. Dominic moved slowly through the panic suite, checking locks and inspecting weapons, his expression unreadable but tense. Sophia stayed near the console, hands still hovering over controls, pulse gradually slowing. She let herself exhale, slowly, deliberately, finally allowing a fraction of relief to wash over her. Dominic's eyes found hers. "You're still shaking," he observed, voice low but not accusatory. I just—" Her voice trailed off. The adrenaline that had fueled her moments ago was finally giving way to exhaustion, and the weight of everything they just survived pressed down on her. He stepped closer, hand brushing lightly against hers again. "It's normal. You've been through a lot. More than most people see in a lifetime." Sophia glanced down at their hands. "And yet, we survived." Dominic's jaw flexed. He nodded almost imperceptibly. "Yes. And not just survived, you helped win." For the first time, she allowed herself a faint smile. "I didn't just hide. I didn't just watch. I mattered." Dominic's eyes softened fractionally, the dark intensity of the past hours giving way to something more human, more vulnerable. "You always mattered. I wanted you to see it for yourself." The guards began clearing the panic suite, moving the injured and checking the perimeter. Dominic gestured for Sophia to follow him to a quieter corner, away from monitors and weapons. "Look at me," he said softly. When she met his gaze, he continued. "Tonight could have ended differently. You could have been hurt. You could have—" His voice faltered just slightly and he clenched his fists. "I couldn't let that happen." Sophia's chest tightened. "You didn't. You protected me." "No," he corrected, voice low, intimate. "We protected each other. You fought. You didn't run. That made all the difference." She swallowed, heart racing. "I never thought I could do this." Dominic stepped closer, the air between them charged with everything that had passed. Fear, trust, adrenaline, and something deeper, harder to name. "You were stronger than you realized. And you're still stronger than you know." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. No words, just understanding. The bond forged in fire and blood, unspoken but absolute. Finally, Sophia spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "And now, what happens?" Dominic's gaze hardened with resolve. "We rebuild. We fortify. We make sure they never think they can come at us again. And we live. We truly live, knowing we can face anything." Her lips twitched into a small smile. "Then let's make sure tonight was their last mistake." Dominic allowed himself a faint, rare smile. "Agreed. And Sophia, thank you. For everything." She nodded, eyes bright with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "No. Thank you. For letting me fight. For letting me be part of this." He stepped closer, closer than before, their hands brushing again, tethered not by fear but by trust. "This isn't over," he said softly. "Not for the Petrovs. Not for anyone who thinks they can control us. But as long as we're together, nothing will break us." Sophia met his gaze, pulse steady now, heart aligned with his. "Together," she echoed. Outside, the city hummed quietly, unaware of the war fought in its shadows. Inside, Dominic and Sophia stood among the aftermath, alive, bonded, and stronger than either had been before. If you've ever faced darkness and found your own strength, comment, "I am unstoppable." Because courage, trust, and resilience are forged together, not alone. The night was thick with tension, the city a dark canvas beneath them. Dominic and Sophia moved through the shadows, flanking the Petrovs' northern hub with lethal precision. Guards followed quietly, each step calculated. Sophia's hands trembled slightly as she checked her weapon, adrenaline coiling in her veins. Dominic's gaze met hers. "You're ready," he said softly but with steel. "I am," she whispered. They breached the facility simultaneously. Dominic leading, Sophia covering from a strategic vantage point. Intruders froze, eyes widening as the first shots rang out, precise, deadly, and coordinated. Sophia tracked movements, relaying positions to Dominic, sealing escape routes. Each red on the tactical display became a target, each call out a strike against their enemy. Raphael appeared, flanked by a few loyal men, eyes blazing with rage. Dominic leveled his rifle, voice cold and steady. "This ends now." The ensuing firefight was brutal but calculated. Dominic's team cut through the opposition, and Sophia's alerts kept them one step ahead. Raphael's men faltered under the coordinated assault, and he realized too late he had underestimated them, again. A single shot from Dominic disarmed Raphael, forcing him to his knees. Sophia stepped forward, eyes fierce. "It's over," she said. "No one else gets hurt tonight." Raphael's smirk faltered. Defeat and disbelief twisted his face. He glanced at Dominic, at Sophia, and finally understood. They weren't pawns. They weren't scared. There was a storm. Dominic's eyes softened fractionally as he looked at Sophia. "You did this. Together we did this." Sophia exhaled, a mixture of relief and triumph washing over her. "We did it. Together." Dawn crept over the city, soft light filtering through tall windows in Dominic's penthouse. The battle was over. The Petrovs were neutralized, their empire fractured. The city breathed again, unaware of the war that had raged in its shadows. Dominic and Sophia stood together in the quiet aftermath. Guards were gone, systems reset, and for the first time in weeks, peace, tentative, fragile, settled over them. "You stayed with me," Dominic said, voice low, almost intimate. "Through everything." Sophia smiled faintly. "I stayed, because you trusted me. And because I trust you." He reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining. "Tonight changed everything. Not just the Petrovs, not just the city, but us. You're not a pawn, Sophia. You're not a target. You're everything." Her chest tightened, but she held his gaze. "And you're not just a boss, Dominic. You're someone I choose to fight beside." He leaned closer, lips brushing her forehead, a silent vow, unspoken but absolute. "Then we fight together. Always." Sophia rested her head lightly against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, their shared rhythm after the storm. Outside, the city awoke, unaware, unknowing. Inside, they had survived, they had conquered, and they had found each other in the chaos. The world was dangerous, full of shadows and threats, but for Dominic and Sophia, there was only one certainty. They were unbreakable together. If you've ever survived the storm and found your strength, and someone who stands beside you, comment together unbreakable. Because true power is forged through trust, courage, and love. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazy and intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out.